Australian Travel Declaration Updates. Before you travel to Australia, you should complete the Australia Travel Declaration at least 72 hours before your departure for Australia. You may also need a valid visa to enter Australia, to submit an exemption to Australia's travel restrictions, authority to enter Australian states or territories. The Australia Travel Declaration collects your contact details in Australia, flight details, quarantine requirements, and your health status. The aforementioned details help the Australian government determine your quarantine arrangements if required, and allows the relevant health department to contact you if you have travelled with someone who came out COVID-19 positive. If you do not complete the declaration, you may face difficulty in boarding the flight or experience delays when you arrive in Australia. The Australia Travel Declaration is for the following travellers entering Australia: Australian citizens and permanent residents, people who are automatically exempt from the travel restrictions, people who have been granted an individual exemption to the current travel restrictions, transit passengers. Travellers who do not need to complete the Australia Travel Declaration include flight crew, foreign diplomats, people travelling on military flights, people arriving by sea of both crew and passengers. Before you commence your declaration, have the following information ready: passport details, trip information, destination details, contact details. You must use up-to-date Microsoft Edge, Safari, Google Chrome, or Firefox. The Australia Travel Declaration does not work in Internet Explorer. You need to create an account to manage your current and future declarations in one place. However, once you have answered the questions, you cannot update them. You will have to submit a new Australia Travel Declaration and delete the old one. This includes if there is a change in your flight, health status, or you made a mistake. Every adult has to complete his or her own declaration. Parents of children under 15 must complete the declaration for their child. You do not have to pay for an Australia Travel Declaration, as it is free. After completing the Australia Travel Declaration, you will receive an email with details that you can show either electronically or printed before you board your flight and on arrival in Australia. The outcome in your email will have either a green response with a tick if you do not need to quarantine on arrival, blue response with an hourglass if you need to quarantine on arrival, red response with a cross if you indicated that you have COVID-19-like symptoms, have been near a person with COVID-19 symptoms, have been in a location of interest in New Zealand, have not acknowledged the need to have a negative COVID-19 test result to travel to Australia. For red responses, airlines will check if you can travel to Australia. If allowed, then you do not need to quarantine on arrival. Note: providing wrong or misleading information to the Australian government will lead to imprisonment for 12 months. The department has given the authority to a third party to collect the Australia Travel Declaration information on its behalf. You will be redirected from the page to an external Australia Travel Declaration page. Once you've submitted your declaration, you will receive your confirmation email from AU Health Aero, no reply at health.aero. COVID-19 conditions for safe travel zone flights from New Zealand. Currently, New Zealand has not announced any quarantine-free green zone flights. All travellers must check the arrangements in both their place of arrival and place of final destination, as they might go into quarantine. For more information, see Department of Health, Coronavirus Advice for international travellers. Arrival in Australia. Green and red zones on airports in Australia separate passengers based on their arrival requirements, that is quarantine-free flights, from other passengers who are required to isolate for 14 days. People travelling on a quarantine-free flight will be guided through a green zone to complete all border clearance formalities at the time of arrival at the airport in Australia. For further information for travelers arriving in the green travel zone, see Department of Health website. Our video ends here. If you have any questions, please comment below. Thanks for watching today's update.